Hi, thanks for spending time with me today. We're looking at number 10 in Nathan Ost's 21 Lip Flexibilities for Trumpet, Volume 2. So there are a lot of these little exercises to play, and I find them all very useful. I mentioned in the last episode that I'm doing number 9 from these studies, that I'm recovering from surgery and from a long and painful stay in the hospital. And interestingly, those of you who know, or who may have studied with him, as Mr. Hardenberger has, Pierre Thibault also went through a very harrowing experience where he was in the hospital for an extended period of time. And as a result, he learned a different way to play the trumpet. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. There are many ways to play the trumpet, almost as many as there are people, but everyone who plays successfully has to satisfy the physical and musical requirements in order to do it. There are a lot of different ways to do that. So there's a lot of talk about efficiency, and that's certainly something worth striving for. But I'm going to play number 10 and I want you to realize that I've been using this and other exercises like it as a way of hopefully recovering and bringing my physical trumpet playing self back to where I'm able to function fully. Right now, it's not so much. So what am I going to do? Well, number 10 starts with an exercise that goes into the low register, down to the low F sharp. So other than pedal tones, the lowest note on our instrument. And whereas I've been playing C trumpet, now I'm playing B flat trumpet. And it's because I'm trying to get used to this new horn. So this all figures in. I'm probably, as usual, trying to do too many things at once, but here we go. I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to mention a few things that you can observe in your own playing that might be helpful in order to try and gain this level of control that all trumpet players desire. So, since my body is very tired and I'm still in pain, it's hard to simply breathe free. So those of you who are young and strong, be grateful and hope that lasts a long time. And those of you who are struggling to come back from a layoff or an injury or some kind of issue where you haven't been able to play the trumpet regularly, keep these things in mind. Take your time and concentrate on the essentials. And in this case, it's the flow. The flow is killing me. It's like I should be able to, and it feels like, oh, I'm running out of air. I'm running out of air. And I hear a lot of people say that. Generally speaking, running out of air is a good thing, unless you're forcing the air. If you're just flowing it, if you're just pouring the air and you're running out, yeah, you could probably be a little bit more efficient with the vibration of your embouchure and the precision of the focus and the vibrating surface and all those little details, which we'll get into later. But for now, the flow is the main thing. So what am I trying to notice? Well, if I go ahead and play it, I'm going to play again, and this time I'm going to do something I've done many times before. I'm going to take the horn off my face and show you what the flow is. And this is where things get interesting, because this is something we can't see, and it's also hard to feel when we're playing. Now what I'm doing is I'm showing you exactly the position of my jaw and the position and the tension in my lips. And you hear how that affects the ear as I was breathing in and out? And do you hear that? I don't think you do. Because even if you were here with me in a totally quiet room, it would be very challenging You could just barely hear the energy in the air. Now, what is that? More precision and more suppleness in the lips so that they can make their adjustments. They're very precise adjustments, very specific adjustments in order to find the place where they vibrate most easily in the airstream without too much squeezing and pinching. So what I did first was I squeezed and pinched. And I can tell because you see my throat is tight, my tongue is tight, and my face, my lips are tight. And I would venture to say, having taught thousands of students over the years, that almost all trumpet players play that way. It's just a matter of degree. And then you listen to somebody, you know, like Håkan, who can walk around and play a 45-minute piece, memorized, while casually strolling, going all over the trumpet, doing, you know, things that are to most of us impossible. But I love what he says about this. He says, well, I just have a lot more time to practice than you do. I love that attitude. And so you got to kind of cut yourself a little bit slack. Well, I don't really have enough time to practice. And this is one of the primary problems of playing the trumpet, is that we're all in a hurry. We got music we got to learn. We got an ensemble concert coming up. We're playing principal trumpet, or you know, maybe we're playing the low part and we're having trouble for some reason. We have technical things that we're struggling with. We have, you know, all district competition that we're preparing for. We have our own expectations and our own goals. I want to build my range, power, and endurance. That's a primary goal for all trumpet players. And we just don't have time to do everything. So we're in a constant state of rushing. That's the mental part of it. So you must allow yourself at least some of your practice time where it becomes more meditative. You're just observing and experiencing and trying to see and hear and feel as much as you can and not judge it. See it for what it is as much as possible. These are the things that can help you to grow. So what I just saw and demonstrated for you was, so a lot of you who do a great deal of mouthpiece buzzing, and especially free buzzing, lip buzzing, that takes a lot of energy, and that can be good conditioning, but it actually teaches you to squeeze with the face. When you have the support of the mouthpiece, and especially when you have not only the mouthpiece, but the support of the acoustics of the horn, the sound wave is coming back and supporting your lip from the other side, and you have the support of very freely flowing air being released to float your lip away from your teeth. Many players will say, hold your lips against the teeth. That's not wrong, but it tends to create stiffness. And that's the problem. Sorry, that probably clipped. But and it's an annoying sound. So how do I get where I want to go? Well, what I just did is I played the A and I heard it didn't sound good. I'm actually pressing my lips hard enough that I buzz. And I know, well, that's not necessary. Logically, you might think, well, that's what happens. You buzz and then you buzz into the... No, that's not what happens. What's happening is, I venture to say, that when the air passes your lips, a sibilance, a vibration, a sympathetic vibration starts to happen. And it's the airstream itself that's vibrating. So instead of going and thinking that you have to pinch your lips to vibrate, you see, I can't get a good whistle unless my airflow is exactly right. Totally free and steady and applied exactly correctly. Free flow, exactly correctly. You have to find that yourself. Nobody else can show you that. But pinching the lips keeps you from doing that. What are you doing? if you can hear that. That was a lot fatter, a lot louder, a lot stronger, a lot more resonant, a lot more coherent, a lot more core in the sound. Maybe you don't hear all these things on this poor recording that's been doctored by YouTube. The original sounds pretty good. Now I'm forcing the air on the G. So the really valuable thing for me about this exercise is, here's the melody. So if you just play the beginning of every group of 4, there's your melody. It's cool, huh? And so actually what I'm doing is trying to play that with free vibration and a good sound. Wow, that took a lot of air, because now instead of going and blocking, basically choking the air off with my lip, I'm allowing the air to flow. Now there's a downside to this. So everything is balance, and there's a great deal of paradox involved. In other words, I'm talking all about flow, 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 how much air I'm using. But actually when you're playing well, it doesn't require that much air. Why? Well, another example, there are a couple of students at New England Conservatory right now that I've been working with who, they're very good players. And they get a great, big, strong sound. And they're playing very well in many, many ways. But both of them are not playing precisely enough when they're playing loud. And so they have trouble playing things that are very soft and controlled and delicate. And that's the case for most trumpet players. I mean, it's the scary things. I remember I was asked to come down to play a kind of a private audition for the New York Philharmonic when they were looking for an assistant principal player. And don't worry, this is not current. This is like decades ago. So, and I came in, and after the audition, I went over to Jeff Park's house, and some of you may know who Jeff is. He played with Maynard. He played in New York as a musician for a long time, playing shows and so forth. Great player. Well, and I showed him some of the stuff. He asked me what I had to play, and I showed him some of the stuff, and he was just cringing. His whole body was just like, oh, it was just tightening up, just thinking about trying to do some of the stuff that I was doing. That's a lesson. That means he was a successful, high-level, commercial lead player and an all-around general business player, but he couldn't play soft comfortably or with confidence. So that's where these skills are developed, right? They're not developed by just pushing more air through the trumpet. It's the freedom of the flow that you always want. So the feeling like the air can move just as freely as if you were a well-conditioned athlete, and some of you are. One of my young students that just had his first lesson does like 3 different sports. Cross country is one of them. So he's running long distances and sometimes sprinting. And so you get to the point where if you can breathe down like that with total freedom and relaxation, as if you just run a long distance, but it feels just good to breathe free, you're probably doing the right thing. Now, dial that way back in terms of the amount of flow and see how easily your lip can vibrate. And now you're starting to get closer to where you need to be. Moving around on the instrument, playing bigger intervals, playing with articulation, dynamics, and all the other things we need to do makes it more difficult to do those things. So start with your long tones and then play things like the Clark or these, which are basically moving long tones. Okay, so I'm going to be very strict with myself about correcting that flaw that I had. I'm going to play it once again, and I'm not playing this on purpose poorly. I'll try and play it well. So I noticed my main problem is the main problem that almost all trumpet players have. Instead of going as if I were gently trying to fog a mirror in terms of my throat, like this, I'm going because I'm overblowing, and when I tighten my throat a little bit, that keeps me from pushing too much air against my lip when I'm playing in the low register. So my lip is starved for air. Instead of, if you can taste this even a little bit, this is the basic challenge that all brass players have, and especially trumpet players. So you want to get free with this. If you're like the two students I mentioned at NNEC, where you got it on the loud end, practice on the soft end. So I'll give you one more thing to try. I should mention, as usual in this exercise, Mr. Ost has given us 3 variations, and they're simply at 3 different points in the range. So the first one that I've been working on starts in a low register, and then he starts the next one on an E. So now my blower is just tired, and I can't believe it. Well, I've been suffering from a lot of fatigue because my body's trying to heal from the surgery, but it's like, wow, but that's a good feeling, remember? You'll even see, if you've been following during the pandemic, the recordings that Mr. Hardenberger did on the Charlier Etudes, a wonderful addition to our listening repertoire, by the way. Somebody commented and said, wow, it's nice to see that, that even great players get winded. Yeah, that's a good thing. Oh, I'm really using everything I've got, but I'm not blowing hard. I'm blowing free, and that's the key to great playing. Now, that was easier for me. Why? Because it's in the middle register. So that's why I started with number 1. And then there's the last one, and I'm not sure I can do this right now, so I'm going to try it anyway. Thank you for letting me indulge myself by actually playing. Now, I did what I did on purpose. I played until I was running out of air, and then I kept going. And this is advice that you get from many, many players, especially the great teachers. Herbert Clark, Claude Gordon are two that say this constantly. They always say, blow to the end and keep blowing. Now, that can be grossly misinterpreted, and that's a talk for another day. Well, I have to get into it because most people, kind of go COPD when they and then I feel like my whole body is locked. So that's the opposite of where you want to be when you play the trumpet and you're at the end of your breath. To put it very simply, the ribs, the lungs, and the ribs that surround them, and your heart, which is your lungs and your heart are being supported by the diaphragm, stay open and relaxed the whole time. The diaphragm is being supported by the various breathing muscles, and it's just gently rising and relaxing to support the lungs. The farther you go, the less air you have left in your lungs, the more difficult it is to support. And that's why these great teachers always said, play to the end of the air. Not to strain, not to squeeze the air, but to flow and stay open. So you can, and that hurt, by the way. A little better. Until you're ready to go from into a totally relaxed, almost casual conversational breath, and then right back into the intensity you need to play on the trumpet. So this is a skill, and you need to develop it. What I was just doing there is I was developing that skill. the skill of supporting when you're low on air, which is the best way to strengthen those muscles. Chris Gecker says the only way to strengthen those muscles. You have to blow to the end. But it can also create a tremendous amount of tension in the system. So you can be failing to strengthen the muscles until you start to feel the natural breathing coordination that should be taking place. Another thing that Clark and his student, Claude Gordon, always used to say is, keep the chest raised. Now, a lot of people go off with that idea because they end up kind of arching their back and sticking their chest out, in a cartoon-like fashion, kind of like at attention. But this is not about arching your back. If you arch your back, you see even it's affecting my voice. I got all kinds of tension in the system. I'm squeezing my spine and I'm keeping my diaphragm from being able to move freely. So I need to find a place where it feels like there's space and everything is open. I sometimes describe it, that old song, there was an old woman who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. Kind of a macabre little song that we learn as kids, some of us. But the idea of swallowing a fly, my picture is the fly is going in and flying around in the inside of my lungs without touching anything. Of course, that couldn't happen because that's not the way the lung tissue is. You doctors out there, I'm aware of that. It's more spongy than it is like a bag. But the fly is not touching anything. Why? Because everything is so open and relaxed. So the more you play on the end of the air, the more you need to stay open, would be the way of putting it. And the more you're trying to maintain the necessary support so you don't choke and clamp. And it gets harder and harder. So I just tested myself to see, can I still make the slur to the B? I'm going to blow the air out. I shouldn't say blow. I'm going to sigh and let the air go. And then I'm going to start playing from there. I have almost no air, but and almost no ability to flow it. I'm pretty well shut down. But if I can still stay open, I can keep the vibration going. So any of you who understand what I'm talking about, just do it. If you don't understand it, don't sweat it. You'll understand it when you experience it. I'm just trying to help you get there. Okay, I think that's more than enough for today. Thank you for allowing me to indulge myself in this attempt to provide some guidance for you serious players out there. And I hope you're enjoying the process and gaining ground and starting to be able to be free to enjoy the music that you hear when you're playing the trumpet. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.